Musical Talk, the UK's independent musical theatre podcast. Hello and welcome to another edition of Musical Talk, and I'm the star of so many very cheaply made films in the Thos and the Adventures of Musical Talk series. Unfortunately, due to financial considerations, every episode has been filmed in sound only. But worry not, there are plenty of B-movies out there, many of them musicals, but not many B-movies aren't movies at all, and in fact are purely stage musicals. Well, today and next week we're going to be looking in depth at two such musicals from a company called Beachcomet, who we've featured here on Musical Talk before, because the products they produce are fantastic. Musical, funny, bizarre, absurd, pretty much everything you want, and they do brand what they create as B-musicals. And the name of these two shows? Well, you'll have heard them before: Vampire Hospital Waiting Room and Apocalypse Cruise Ship Love Affair. Both cult musicals in Edinburgh and elsewhere, but immediately accessible. And at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe there was a rare chance to see them both in repertory, because they were playing alternate days, and at weekends they were appearing in a double bill, one after the other. You could, as they say, fill your boots. And you know, I did. Last year, if truth be told, the selection of musicals at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe in 2019 was a little more limited than I'd experienced in previous years. But when I was working out what I wanted to see, when I saw that Vampire Hospital Waiting Room and Apocalypse Cruise Ship Love Affair were coming back to the Fringe, I was delighted. It was in fact the thing, or rather the things, that excited me the most about my then forthcoming trip. And of course, another wonderful thing about Musical Talk is that we've been going so long now that actually when shows come back, there's a very good chance that we can go back and listen to interviews with people behind such shows taken some years ago. And so that's exactly what you're going to get in this week and next week's episode. Today we're going to hear a conversation I had with the writers of Vampire Hospital Waiting Room, that's Theo, McCabe and Craig Methven, but I recorded in 2016 when Apocalypse Cruise Ship Love Affair was first being premiered at Edinburgh. So we discussed both shows. And next week you'll be able to hear a much more up-to-date conversation I had again with Theo McCabe to talk about how those two shows had developed and why they'd come back in 2019. And alongside him I had the real pleasure of talking to a man I've admired for many years, a comic actor called Joe McCardle, who can do things on stage I've really seen nobody else do and make them work to a sublime level. That's next week. So let's get back to this episode, and that recording I made in 2016 with the very lovely Craig Methven and Theo McCabe about their musical Vampire Hospital Waiting Room and its newly created, if not sequel, then follow-on, Apocalypse Cruise Ship Love Affair. And we'll be topping and tailing this interview with the title songs of both shows. Enjoy!
Thanks, Leroy's. We're on a blues cruise.
Apocalypse Cruise Ship Love Affair. Taste heaven before you get there. Watch the world explode from your deck chair. It's you're consumed by fire, you'll be glad you dipped into our pool. But sad the man above us is so rough and cruel. And with your final breath, you'll say, what fun I had on holiday. Apocalypse cruise ship love affair, no lifeboats nor a de-stress flare. We're all fucked, so enjoy the sea air. As your eyes and skin melt off, feel thankful for the mini-golf. But still annoyed the man above, so cruel and rough. And with your final breath, you'll say, what fun I had on holiday.
Who's ready for a key change? We've got cocktail bars, we got healthy lifestyle seminars, we got laser tag, cinemas and bowling. We've got singles night and free profiling ticks. We got plays and acrobatics. We got comedy and magics.
So if you need something to do,
It's all right here for you. On a blues cruise, you never lose and you're never feeling blue.
Apocalypse cruise ship love affair. Prepare for your final prayer as you ascend up heaven's stair, or go down to Lucifer. Apocalypse cruise ship love affair.
Fuck yeah!
Hello, my name is Craig Methven.
And I'm Theo McCabe, and our show is Apocalypse Cruise Ship Love Affair.
Now, I think before we go anywhere else, we ought to say that that is a splendid mouthful of a title. And I know it runs in the family, as it were, because this is at least the second show in a series of splendidly named shows, which are, I must say, insanely hilarious. And hilariously insane. So, how did this show get to be, and how did you stumble upon that title? Or was it a piece of calculated planning in terms of a trip off the tongue, but actually slightly too long, but actually, isn't it just right kind of title? There's quite a lot of dashes in that sentence, by the way.
Yeah. Well, our first show, Vampire Hospital Waiting Room, that was an in-joke at the theatre we were at, the student theatre, because everyone knew we had so many vampire cloaks, chairs and hospital gowns, and so
There are three most common props somehow through the collected years of student theatre, so we just felt we had to use them all in one show, and thus became Vampire Hospital Waiting Room, and we wrote the show off that. And then, through this awkward, nonsensical branding that we had made ourselves, we thought, we want to continue on in that vein. So we had ideas for this show that were something about an apocalypse and a cruise ship and a love affair.
and I think the way the title works is because it's three ideas, and it's a rule of three, and so we just kind of thought, okay, let's take three different ideas, a kind of B-movie thing like Vampire, but we went for Apocalypse, and then something location based.
I look forward to leeches in a future edition. Another popular trope.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Vampire Hospital Waiting Room has a certain resonance and twang to it. I think Apocalypse Cruise Ship Love Affair is fantastic, and in fact, just before we were recording, we were sort of discussing how you put the words together and things like that. So,
the different ways around we had it. Like
definitely, we tried loads. Yeah, we tried it until it just sounded right, and we were like, that sounds like a nice title. Now let's write the show.
Was it just those five words, or were there any other interlopers in there?
Oh no, there was a huge
Zombie
variety.
Cruise Ship Love Affair was very close.
Oh really?
We really nearly did a zombie show.
And will.
Yeah, probably at some point. But there's something about the word zombie that we felt sounded a bit naff.
Or was a bit overused at like at the Fringe, even like last year. You always seems to be hundreds. I think it's maybe there's not that many this year. I think everybody has thought zombies are overdone. And Apocalypse is just a bit more classically silly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's also more nebulous, isn't it, in a way? It's just, what is an apocalypse? Well, it can be anything. There's a smorgasbord of destruction available to you.
And much funnier, much more fun to sing.
Yeah, definitely. And you were saying, actually, on that nebulous point, you were saying, if we wrote Zombie Apocalypse Cruise Ship Love Affair, I just know exactly what the plot would basically be, or maybe have someone else, but they have a standard zombie plot, and it's kind of like, We don't want to do that.
Where nobody knows what to expect from.
Yeah.
But actually, that is one of the great joys of both your shows, is the complete turns and twists which occur. But, I mean, you said B-movie, and I think that's a very good sort of thematic thing to be building on. But actually, these would be B-movies I would love to see. I actually think that you could possibly do... I can't tell you how big these speech marks are, which I'm imagining around this sentence, but you could turn them into B-movie films, either in their form as a musical now, but you could actually make them speech marks serious and threatening, in the sense that B-movies, that kind of genre B-movie could be.
Trying to work out whether it's so bad it's good, like Plan 9 from Outer Space, whether we managed to do something.
I did see Attack of the Leeches a couple of years ago, and that's very much in
the same vein.
Very much. And one of the joys of that, I should just say in passing, is that there's a bad girl from the 50s in it. She's not a good girl in that American wholesome sense, and anyway, she stupidly goes to the swamp to make out with her illicit lover.
Oh no, you should never do that.
When she goes to the swamp, she's wearing a bra, but when she's caught by the leeches and you're seeing her in a wet shirt in their lair, amazingly, I don't know how leeches do this.
They've
taken it off. Anyway, if anyone knows
leeches.
how to train a leech how to remove a bra, then you're a better man than I am. I think we may have digressed. So you've got this fantastic title, and in both cases it was the title first and then the show. I mean, obviously, I'm sure Dostoevsky would frown upon that as a way forward, but it really brings the results. So, and you've actually given me some very interesting conversations about why it wasn't going to be zombies. So you are looking to be original, you are looking to twist, you are looking to give yourself that broad canvas. So what is your creation process? And bearing in mind, do you do book first and then, I assume you must, you've got title, then book, then score? Is that how you sort of do it?
I often work with a writing partner. So with Vampire it was Craig, and with Apocalypse it was a guy called Steve Duffy, who also played Old Man. And
lovingly titled.
Yeah. And normally I'll kind of have a brainstorming period where I just work out a couple of key ideas that I think I really want to put in the show, and I'm going to be really, because I've got to drive the energy of the show, I've got to make sure it's something that I'm really excited about. And then at some point it was slightly different when I worked with Craig and when I worked with Steve, because we had less time with Craig, so it was like 2 weeks.
But you did mention it was a swift piece.
Which then got developed over the years. But this one we've had a year or more to actually write it.
So Steve came on board about 6 months maybe, or maybe a bit longer before the production, and then we just brainstormed ideas for ages and ages and ages, which I was doing more on my own on Vampire. And then with about a month to go, we started writing plot synopsis, like a 1-page one, and then a 3-page one, and then a scene by scene, and then I'd start working on the songs, because I was like, okay, I'm going to need to write the songs at some point, and then let Steve take over the book a bit more, and we just start drafting scenes, and then we get the actors in to read the scenes, and then they'd start adding their own jokes in. And getting the voices of the characters, and then the show would just kind of grow out of that, and we just try and get the scenes and songs written.
And I feel like you do want to almost like build it around the songs at a certain point, where we're aware that they're kind of the biggest, most fun parts.
And in the synopsis we try and get where each song's going to come and what it's going to do.
But there is this wonderful sense of organic growth about it as well. And the great thing about organic pieces, where people have clearly been contributing as well as it being written and things like that, and developing together, and then, as you say, you put the songs in, so presumably you slightly focus your book around that as that happens and develop it, is the fact that people own the piece together. And that, what is a very strong sense of is an ensemble between you all, both in the last show and this. There's some overlap, it's not a complete overlap, there's some overlap of cast though, isn't there? So,
and what I didn't include in that is that we actually went for a rehearsal retreat after a kind of half first draft of the show was written, where then we get everyone together to contribute all their ideas. Everyone else wrote at the end of the show. Me and Steve didn't do that much for the end of the show.
Oh, really?
So there is definitely a massive ensemble part of it, and everyone helps out with the writing, and even more so with Vampire. I think because we had longer with this one and we knew we were going to do it, we kind of like tried to do as much as we could without having to have 6 people in a room, which is always hard to do.
But like I say, it is very organic in that while the show's on, we're still like writing new jokes, like just backstage. But for the next one, we're like, I'm going to add in this new line in the next scene, so don't be thrown, or like, what can we do here? Because we need to let's change this improv bit. Let's mix something up. So and the audience are really helpful to that, in that like we just see what works and what doesn't, and one day we'll throw out something that will land and that'll stick in, and the other way we won't. And so we've often had people who've seen it in the first few days who are like, I have to come back at the end because it will be entirely different by then.
And definitely by this point, me and Steve are bored of writing, so if the scene's not working, we just say to the actors, right, we're not sure that scene's working, so just try something else.
But was it a difficult second album?
It was for me,
really
very
was.
much so. Yeah, I think for the cast as well, because like Joe didn't want to be another Dr. Bloom.
No,
but
which was such a fundamental. He lived and breathed the part, didn't he?
Yeah.
Rather.
Yeah. Similarly, like when we were originally casting it and things, I was like, if I'm just the main love interest again, this would maybe not be too fun. And then I realised that I didn't have to be in a coma for this show. That I could stand up and move around.
You're mostly vertical, in fact.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Yeah.
So I was like, oh wait, no, this is much more fun when I can actually
move a bit.
Yeah.
Although, if I may say,
dance.
I mean, there's a certain there's a flattering aspect to always being asked to play the principal romantic lead, isn't there?
Chris clearly the most handsome one in the show. Except I feel Fittles has usurped my role as romantic lead.
Their love story has really come to the fore.
People don't care about mine as much as we thought people would hate Fittles, but Will's too likeable. He's too sweet.
Well, shall we briefly, because I feel that we probably ought to at least have a gentle stab at describing the plot of a story without giving anything away, and some of the characters for our listeners, because we will need to discuss how they mesh.
Yeah. Do you want to have a go? I feel like I've talked.
Okay,
and best of British luck, by the way.
So we're on a blues cruise ship, and Captain Blue Fond lost his lover overboard 20 years ago and is obsessed with getting her back through all manner of utter insanity.
This is sort of Moby Dick and Flying Dutchman kind of stuff, isn't it? Yes.
So his newest idea is
a little lighter, perhaps.
Somewhat, yeah. His newest plan is to drive into these apocalyptic storms to somehow resurrect his lover, and his first mate Fittles, who is hopelessly in love with him, is just trying to keep him alive. We also have a cruise rep named Hanks Leroy's, also
played by you,
played by me, who is of an indeterminate accent. He falls in love instantly with a nun on board, and then is just love struck through the show. And we have a few elderly cruise ship hunters just there enjoying the chaos.
In like a sentence, it's about a captain bringing back his lover by driving into an apocalyptic storm, and everyone else finding love on board at the end of the world. I think was the kind of 2-sentence or 1-sentence synopsis we tried to tie ourselves down to.
Well, it works very well in that sense, and of course anyone listening will say that sounds absolutely ridiculous. You'd be right. But that's the joy of it. I mean, it's the audience latch on. So the day I was there, it was a sellout. The audience loved it from first to last, as exactly they had with Vampire Hospital Waiting Room. This is a sound show. It's not a weaker second show. I think it's as good as, or even better than, number one. It's certainly more assured, if I may say. I hope you won't mind me saying, because I'd like to talk about the score briefly. I think the songs are actually slightly stronger, in my view. There's forgive me, there's some really lovely conceits. The idea of Hanks, is it Hank or Hanks?
Hanks,
of course. Why would it not be? Hanks falls in love with a nun, and of course there's this it's very funny, but it's a wonderful song about falling in love with only 6 inches of face, because she's in full Wimple mode, isn't she? That's a sentence I wasn't expecting to use this morning. But actually that's a really wonderful song.
Oh, well, thanks.
So forgive me, how do you come up, where do you find the nexus points for the songs and some of the conceits behind them? Because actually writing a comic song is hard anyway. You've mentioned the rule of 3 as a concept, and obviously that works in many ways, but it doesn't suit all songs. And actually the score it maintains itself all the way through from beginning to last. There's no duff songs. That's not to say there were last year, but it just feels more accomplished. I'm not trying to damn the previous show, because I thought it was fantastic, although obviously the show with vampires it is damned.
Give away some trade secrets. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but in the last year's show they were just all in the same key, because we wrote them all just like it very, very quickly, and then we realised that allowed us all to just layer them all one on top of each other to create a Les Mis-esque final epic that we just put.
I mean, that wasn't why.
But it just happened to be,
way.
And then we kept it like that way.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons why the songs are better, because they're not all in the sea.
And
however, they are all at sea. Doing comedy pointing.
There was definitely a huge amount more of like actual musical work that went in.
But also the songs are just, I think, better constructed. And it's been 4 years since I wrote the songs in Vampire. I wasn't even totally expecting to write songs for Vampire. I didn't really know what we were going to create. Like, we were going to be a play with a couple of songs or a full-on musical. But with this, I knew what we were doing, and I've been doing musical theatre writing workshops and stuff like that. So I've just had more time to, like, a bit more time to think about how to write a song.
And 4 years on the clock makes a difference, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It really does.
And we all managed to bring a bit more of knowledge about what exactly we were doing, and having seen a few more like at West End musicals, just this idea that the love at first sight songs are always absurd, because I saw one recently. I was just struck that they had only just seen each other doing absolutely nothing. I thought we have to make fun of how nonsensical it is.
Sometimes accompanied by a ding, almost as the first note, and you think, oh come on, I know what we're getting here. So no, please, with my absolute blessing, go ahead and send those up.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see it as a send-up score, as a pastiche score? Because obviously you use various styles, and with the best will, and I don't mean this in any way backhandedly. It's not Sondheim.
No, absolutely.
But it is very, very good. It's very accomplished. It's very funny as well. And forgive me, a sustained series of funny songs is a fairly hard thing to pull off.
Well, yeah, I think there are definitely elements of pastiche in it. I wouldn't like my knowledge of musical theatre isn't strong enough that I could really like do a pastiche of different composers and stuff like that. But for the 6 Inches of Face, it's like that's going to be a gospel song, so it's kind of what do gospel songs do, how can we work that in there, and then we just basically try and pick a genre or a feel and make a kind of genre in that a song in that vein, so that people can hear a style that they recognise and be like, oh yeah, okay, that's a kind of funk song.
Latch onto that as a generality.
Exactly. And then we've got the big kind of Broadway-ish number, the kind of 11 o'clock number thing for Roz, to Go Out With a Bang, which is very much people kind of associate with big 11 o'clock numbers.
Lots of high kicks and chorus lines and
Broadway, jazz hands.
Yeah.
Well, when you get to Broadway, do let me know, by the way.
Yeah.
We'll be letting everyone know it.
Every
opportunity.
Have you been enjoying it?
Oh yeah, hugely. It's been great fun, and we have been getting like phenomenal audiences in.
Yeah.
And it's such a silly show that it's never not fun to go out and just do ridiculous voices and sing at the top of our lungs.
So tell me a bit about Hanks, if I may say. You mentioned in passing he has an indeterminate accent. Actually, accents are one of the things you do rather well, isn't it? Because I didn't realise you weren't American after Vampire Hospital Waiting Room. So to discover that your accent is Scots.
I wasn't even trying to do an American accent in Vampire. I was just doing a slightly cocky Scottish accent, which I just think, because it's like just much more assured, and just the cadence of it, I think, made everyone think it was American.
Yes.
To the point where we got loads of reviews in London where people were like, his American accent was a bit dodgy, don't tell him to do that again. I was like, I was doing a Scottish accent. No, it's okay. I clearly it was.
Everyone thinks that.
Clearly it was American sounding.
Maybe we should just start rolling with it.
Yeah,
I'd be like, thank you.
I don't sound Scottish
my
enough.
American accent.
So I went in completely the opposite direction this year.
did.
To just find the silliest voice. And I've gone this. It started as just Australian, and it's gone Kiwi, and now it's gone lost at sea. It's no longer believable. It's just what I think sounds silliest and funniest.
Well, I think you can pin it down to the Southern Hemisphere, but beyond that, you are on your own, if I may say. But actually, it's fantastic. And of course, there are these fantastic jokes that come out there. I don't want to ruin punchlines, but you have a great deal of fun when you're doing some of your patter as the rep.
Yeah.
Talking about a juice bar and
things that happen on deck.
That's right. And deck jokes are very well placed. And what was lovely the day I went, there was a kind of people have been enjoying your accent because it's funny and variable and so wonderfully over the top, but then you get the jokes out of it. So it's not just a man doing a funny accent, it's a man doing a funny accent with some actually very cleverly constructed linguistic gags, really, verbal gags. And you can hear the audience going, oh, did he just say that? Did he say that? And you can hear, well, I could, at least the audience going, could hear the pressure going up as they, and let's say there was some absolute blue chip filth smuggled through.
It's
which
allowed me to say just, utterly offensive or disgusting things but breeze past them because the character doesn't even realise he's saying them, because he's not saying them.
He's an innocent, isn't he?
He's talking about boats. But so it's been good fun just letting those, so if the audience don't register them or don't want to, they can go right over their head.
Well, I think there's going to be one or two audience members who will spot it only because other audience members are giving them a clue by laughing. But yes, I'm still internally laughing in relation to the juice bar gags. And of course the title gives me, forgive me, Apocalypse and Puckered Lips is something you play on in a more romantic moment, if I can once again speech mark that into so there's actually a great deal of great verbal, dexterity and wordplay, and that's a delight to me as well. So it's, forgive me, what you are not is a one-trick pony. It would be very easy, or it could be very easy to say, we've got a funny title, we've got we've put some funny songs and just a few jokes in it, but actually it's playful, and it works in different genres as well. There's over-the-top acting. There's I'm not sure there's much off to balance that, but but there's wordplay, and there are proper gags, and all this. So, forgive me, the cast has developed that. The writers have developed that, and that's ongoing. I'm merely repeating back to you what you've told me, I suppose, but it's fabulous because it comes across. There's this beautiful sense of knitted cohesion, actually, in a piece that, if you were to write it down, wouldn't look cohesive.
Yeah, I think it's helpful that we have just a lot of us work together for like 5 years or so, just improvising or writing, or that we do just can almost read each other's minds in some circumstances where you can look in someone's eye and he's going to do something insane. I'm going to stand back for this one.
Are we talking particularly about Joe?
Yes, our captain, our doctor, our
any high status figure.
Yeah, he's just we just give him free rein because the rest of us have written gags and plot to get through, but he mostly just stands and rants, and we let him because the audience seem to love it. But
on Craig's point, we did a lot of improv together, so that's how we kind of met, and that really helps with the gag writing, and because that Puckered Lips, that was improvised by Craig at some point during a rehearsal, and it also means that the cast are really relaxed to really hone the comedy, and maybe pull back if an audience isn't liking certain jokes.
Used to things not landing and then moving on.
Moving on quickly, rather than like powering through the script or only being able to say what's on the page. So
this is your Edinburgh University Improverts, I think you were saying, that's such a good training, isn't it? And as I say, if nothing else, even if the improvisation doesn't work, it trains you to work together. It does work.
No, so we've got our sort of own troupe now as well, and I've all been doing sort of training with other like long form improv and all different kinds of stuff. So it's such a good skill for all kinds of performing that we feel, I think. So.
Yeah, and really good, as you say, for the team cohesion, just getting to know each other as performers.
I do want to touch on Joe because he's such a central part of both your pieces so far. Only because, forgive me, he owns the stage when he's on it. He has a very odd charisma, if I may say, and I don't really. Forgive me, I'm going to flatter you all because I think you're all brilliant. But his charisma is based on something I think is very odd, because actually he plays characters who are, as you say, figures of authority. And with figures of authority, particularly when they are insane or manic, they're aloof. So his characters are all this very, I don't really care what the hoi polloi think, I don't care about my patients, I don't care about my passengers. So he's very aloof, he's one-track minded, he's clearly insane. Those are not the ingredients for charisma in any real person. How does a man go on stage, ignore everybody, or at least the character says, I couldn't give two hoots and go away, you bastard, basically, and everybody looks at him and goes, this man's amazing. Well, that's quite a difficult dichotomy. Is he insane?
Joe McCardle is not
fully insane.
Okay, so I do divergent answers.
Somewhere between the two lies the truth.
I think with Vampire, which was where we really found that kind of dichotomy and that whole thing, I tried to write this really insane Nicolas Cage kind of like character, because a lot of people love Nicolas Cage, maybe for similar reasons. Like he's when he's being crazy in his films, but you just find him so funny, and you're like, is he even acting in this film?
Yeah, you want to understand where he's coming from, almost. Like I feel like there's like an element, maybe not of pity, but of like tragic misunderstoodness to like I think the characters that we've been like. I feel that must be why people like them. They want to get to the bottom of why they are so insane. And they tend to have like an honest yearning for their utterly insane desire.
Yeah,
that is behind
he's sincere,
it.
Isn't he?
Yeah. So it's for love or
he's
for.
So sincere.
Yeah, but Joe has a brilliant ability to make those kind of crazy characters feel really real.
Yeah.
And when we did
frighteningly so, I think would be the word.
Yeah, and when we did audition for Vampire, kind of he played it so straight, like straight in a way, but compared to other auditioners, he felt like a real person.
So it wasn't a send-up, it wasn't knowing. It was I am sincere in this madness. Is that what you're saying?
No, it was right. Definitely was a send-up.
Oh, right.
But it was, I don't know, it's hard to describe.
Because they're like, I want to be a vampire thing is like easy to just throw away as a comedy idea, but to honestly, emotionally...
I want to be a vampire, but when he did it, he sounded like a scary man who wanted to be a vampire.
Who's deep in his heart, believed and
unhinged.
Unhinged, genuinely seemed unhinged.
But honestly emotional, which people connect to, I think.
But absolutely insane again. I can't get away from that. But he also has some fantastic wordplay as well. There's always the words he can't say in his current character as the captain. I mean, he can't say paraphrase, can he? Paraphrase. And then he'll say to the audience, I can't say that.
Yeah, that was totally improvised by Joe again.
And do any of these things come back? Or was that just the one day I saw it?
No. So he started paraphrasing, as you put it, and then it just very much fit the character that he only knows how to paraphrase. Yeah. So that's just stuck in.
And then there was another word that he started not being able to say as well, anniversary. Yeah. So it became like a running joke. It's every day. And it's working well.
Yeah, like I say, it becomes a completely different beast by the end, where we just add in lots of different things,
Especially Will and Joe, Fittles and Captain Buffon. I didn't know what I was trying to do.
Diffusing the characters and the actors there, I see.
Yeah, exactly. They lived together for 3 years and they have a very good chemistry and they've been doing improv together, so they love running crazy with their scenes.
Well, you mentioned Vittles, and you said you'd written him in a way that you thought people wouldn't like him. And yet, and I think that is actually a misunderstanding of the character, because he's very hard put upon, isn't he? He is in love with the captain.
Yeah, he was originally like the very like officious, like snooty kind of first mate, or like, making sure nobody was having fun, and he still does that occasionally, but now he's in ridiculous tiny short shorts and a little sailor hat, and it's hard to not, and is more hopelessly in love than we'd originally.
Well, hopelessly is the word, actually, because I think the reason the audience like him partly is because not only is he funny, but he's pathetic, and also that his pathetic nature has been clocked by the captain, even though the captain is sort of one track on his love. Every now and then, he'll throw a crumb, perhaps, deliberately, and then Vittles will move forward as though, he does,
and then
literally.
He will set fire to the crumb.
So just he'll sort of try and lap it up, and he goes, "I'm not talking to you," kind of thing. It is fantastic, because it's, forgive me, it's the comedy of cruelty as well, isn't it? And that goes a long way.
Yeah, we there's a few of those. It's almost like a gut punch to the audience when they almost think we're going to give somebody like a happy ending.
Oh no!
And Joe takes that cruelty further than I thought he would. I mean, we didn't write Captain that cruel, and I was like, "How are you going to? Is this going to get laughs?" But then it was like, it always does. And there's something about him that you just know he's not that mean, and people just like him, even though he's being a bastard.
He's a rotter. Yes. Can we briefly, if you don't mind, I don't want to go back to past glories, but I'd just like to talk about the trajectory of success for Vampire Hospital Waiting Room, because it was a complete success. Before we were recording, I was just saying to Craig that I caught it last year in that marvellously gothic churchy building that you were in, and I was waiting in the queue, and as it's Edinburgh, you talk to the people in the queue with you. You normally start the conversation with, "Pardon me, is this the queue for?" Anyway, I got talking to this lovely Australian young lady who was so delighted by your show. She told me that she had come all the way from Australia to Edinburgh for the Fringe to see Vampire Hospital Waiting Room. That was the reason she had traversed the world.
Bizarre. Amazing, but...
So, well, that says several things, doesn't it? First of all, a success. It also says reputation.
Yeah.
So, obviously, the new show is the new show, and it's fantastic, and I hope it goes a lot of places. But I would just like to touch on the old show because it is, if you like, the bedrock of your careers and reputation in some ways. I hope I'm not underselling you there.
No, absolutely.
But it came about in a fairly hurried way. You've mentioned, and then over 4 years, is it? It's sort of become a phenomenon. Really, actually, it is a phenomenon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we just the basic idea and the characters, we all just kind of like fell in love with them and just wanted to keep building up more and more. And there's, I don't know why we loved it so much, but
we got a standing ovation in our first show. From
where'd you go from there?
Yeah,
stilts.
Which is our only standing ovation I think we ever had. But it was kind of this feeling of, wow, we just pulled that together in 2 weeks and we got loads of good laughs. People were I think we got the standing ovation because people were really surprised because they thought it was going to be
we sympathy of it.
Yeah, exactly.
We literally on our very, very first posters, our tagline was "Come and be pleasantly surprised."
Yeah, which was Sarah's idea because she had spent the whole time thinking it was going to be rubbish. She
was like worried because I've signed up to this show and it's going and then but then eventually we dropped that tagline because we were like, don't undersell us.
No.
We're actually
and then from there we were like that was good. And Julian, who has helped me produce the show the whole time, he jumped on board and we just kept pushing it. We're like, okay, we'll take it to London, we'll bring it back to the Fringe, and then we had a year's break where I finished my dissertation and did the university
real life
stuff.
caught up.
Yeah. Sadly, we can't be constantly writing camp horror musicals as much as.
But please tell me you will.
Oh no! Now we're finished university. We're going to do it non-stop.
Yeah, and then we had such a good year last year because that space we were in, it was like a 150, 200 seater, and it was in a great location.
It was free, so it was so easy to get people in, and the word of mouth spread like
it did.
wildfire.
Like dysentery.
And we've had such an amazing reaction. Like, we didn't know about this. So people coming from all over the world, but we had people send in like fan videos and all sorts of things. Someone like
Did they?
Two people recorded one of our songs and sent them to us.
You've been covered.
It was terrifying. So it was like a slightly scarier number. They had covered themselves in fake blood and had like tools and stuff. It was
I don't remember if you remember Martin's song in the show where it's "I'm going to find you," the kind of weird guy on the side. Yeah, they covered that song. Yeah.
It was quietly sinister, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, but this was, they just took the quiet out of it. But it was good, like just the fact that people have enjoyed it so much they want to do their own to join in has been awesome. Yeah,
and that we've been able to do this show as well because we wouldn't be here without that show.
Yeah, moving up into like a big named Fringe venue sort of thing has been a great step.
You're in the Gilded Blue.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful building as well.
Yeah. But if your question was about doing the show again,
no. My question was, what was the history of it? How is it? What's it like to be surfing a success? Really, the fact it had started as this put together quite quickly show.
Yeah.
Although forgive me, you've already explained in some senses the fact that you have a bond as a group. You have improvisational skills. You clearly have the ability to organically develop pieces together anyway. You also know what to drop when things don't work. That's such a skill. There are so many precious people in this world, as you know, who never know when to let stuff go. So, you've actually explained, I think, already how it became a success. But, it got to the West End. I mean, it was at the Arts, above the Arts last year in London.
Geographically in the West End.
It's a West End venue. Take it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But and you've been getting sellout under the reputation. So, that's such a wonderful thing to have under your belt. And I just wanted to get that on record, that, it's a fantastic piece. Would you ever do them in repertory, the two pieces? Because they are one actors, aren't they? By which I mean, just the one act. Well, I didn't actually explain that to you. I'm patronising you now. That's a long word, and it means I'm talking down.
No, absolutely. I think I've definitely had the thought to do them side by side. I think Bane, as someone I love, I don't know if you've ever seen the show Bane. He came here for 6 years. He's a one-man theatre show.
A one-man action movie.
And he's got like a Bane 1, Bane 2, Bane 3, Bane 4, and he sometimes does runs where he'll do his latest one throughout the week, and then his older ones on the weekends. People can catch up.
To do it,
yeah, something like that, or as you say, just back to back would be cool.
Because there's still a clamouring to see Vampire, isn't there? People must still want to see it and contact
I think
you.
so. Yeah. I think we probably would still want. Well, we definitely would still love to do it again.
We did try and see if we could just remember all the lines, a bit like in backstage the other day, and we're just like, yeah, no, we could easily just put this back on.
Maybe one day we'll just go on and do Vampire.
It's now just inbuilt into.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it so much.
Mm-hmm. You know, it would be great fun, and there's loads of great jokes in there that we miss doing. And it would be really fun to go back to it, having written this, because this was such a good learning experience in terms of having to do it again. Whereas Vampire was like, whoa, what are we doing? This has turned out really well. But
well, you didn't say that on stage, so that's a
So it'll be really fun to go back to that. But also looking forward to doing new stuff and writing a new musical.
Yeah. And one must always go forward. Question about Vampire though, before we move back to Apocalypse. Which is, has anyone asked if they can do it? And do you think they would, how successful would somebody else's company be putting on Vampire? Because it's quite, you are so connected to your past, they are. As you say, you remember them, but there's a slice of those characters in you, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dr. Bloom will be the hardest character to get right. The show rests on his and also on Joe's improvisational ability. There is a part in the show which literally is improvised every single night.
I got that.
Yeah. And so, if you could cast a good Dr. Bloom and it works and he's got the right energy and he doesn't make the crowd feel awkward by how angry and crazy he is.
It's the right energy, isn't it?
But also, at this point, it's almost like an oral piece. It's not recorded.
It's a folk piece.
Yes, it's like it is only recorded in the minds of the performers and those that have seen. I found like the most recent script we have is like 2010 or something. It's like it's
so
nothing.
It really genuinely isn't recorded.
It's just in our.
No, we do have a video of it. So I've always meant to go back and transcribe.
But my most recently updated version of the script is nothing like what we did at the Fringe last year.
And my music isn't written down anywhere.
But potentially it is something that
definitely.
So if people are
written
interested,
in the folk tradition.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're listening to this interview and you want to do it, get in touch. And if it's the right money, we'll write it down.
Oh, how you've changed. I'm delighted to hear that, though, because, it feels like something... I'd love to see you all do it again and again. I'd like it to see stay part of a repertory. But actually, it feels to me, if it could be detached and bottled, it would be nice to see other people do it. Whether they could ever do it as well is another matter. But let us not look to the past. Let us get back to Apocalypse. Now... it's premiered here at the Fringe, isn't it? So it's only been going for a few weeks. What have you learnt so far about it from the audience? Or am I talking nonsense?
No,
if I'm not talking nonsense, it's the first time today.
No. Yeah, so we did two previews like the week before Fringe in London, just to make sure it wasn't total nonsense. And then brought it up here. But
it's been amazing to see that we can sell paid tickets, because we've never done that at the Fringe before.
You were free previously, weren't you?
Yeah.
So the sales have been really good. We're looking to make our money back and make some profit as well.
But forgive me, that's such a rare thing.
Yeah.
And you deserve it. You genuinely deserve it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and so that's been brilliant to know that we can do that. Yeah, and to know that we can write another show as well. I was like, oh god, can I even do it? Like, was that just a fluke? But the audience
and maybe also that
so good.
Our audience isn't maybe as niche as we thought maybe. I felt like while flyering or things like, there's very few people that I would. Sometimes with Vampire and things, people would be like, "Oh, it's not really up my street." But this one, I feel, is some a bit more.
We've had all kinds of people
enjoy it,
see it and love the show. Yeah,
we had like very very young audiences one day that'll love certain parts of it, and what feels like a much older audience the other day that'll love the other elements of it, and it's that's been good to learn that.
Yeah, and just learning things about the show that work and don't work, and tweaking things and.
Has anything sunk apart from the ship?
In terms, how do you mean?
Well, have you had In the first couple of performances, were there any jokes that you sank like?
Oh yeah, always.
You're so honest.
Of course.
And they have been like instantly discussed. Like we've come off that joke. We're like, no, I know. I'm never going to say that again.
yeah. But whole scenes, no, we haven't cut any characters or scenes. Like roughly, the show is exactly as we thought it would be, just with different jokes.
And
sometimes.
The score? You've not retweaked any of the lyrics or felt to cut or add songs?
No, I mean it would be hard to do that because it's hard to know how people have enjoyed the songs. But it's mostly jokes because you get immediate reaction. Yeah. They're laughing or they're not laughing, and if you're telling a joke, they should be laughing. So that. But with the songs, it's kind of no. It would be hard to teach people new stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's great because it's such a responsive show that you do just hear what the audience likes and things, which I imagine if you're doing like a play or something like that.
If they're enjoying it, they're not going to start clapping during these soliloquies, are they?
So we get a very visceral, like Will has gotten more and more reliably, he's gotten awes at the end of his song.
Which is Vittles, isn't it?
Which is Vittles, yeah. So like, but he's just a drop in the ocean and he's getting like, at the end. And so he's playing up to that now, I think, and it's making the audience enjoy that a bit more. And so, it's easy to kind of adjust as we go along too.
Yeah.
So I suppose the question must be, we've discussed the past, we're discussing the present, and I feel a little bit like Charles Dickens, I really ought to take you into the future. I'm also as old as Charles Dickens, so there's a connection. What next for Apocalypse? What next for you as a group? You may confer, but please say you're working.
I think Apocalypse, we'd like to do a run in London.
Oh yes,
please. like
on my knees, please.
Yeah. So like we did with Vampire, we went to the Arts. We've been speaking to Brian at the Arts again. We had some times, but Will, who plays Fittles, is in another play in September.
Oh right.
So hopefully we can get something in October time. That would be great to give it a kind of, to round it off in a way and be like that was good.
And 2016.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm sure we're going to be writing new shows soon.
Just need to build a random name generator to create our next show.
But let's just quickly go back to that. We'll talk in a minute more about the future, but actually something you said before we started recording about the title, it was such an interesting thing. You said that you went through all these different options, but you also said the one that you picked in the end didn't just sound good, it also had a rhythm that allowed you to sing it. And I thought, you're craftsman actually, you've got the technical knowledge. You could just go for something that sounds great and then you can never scan it into a song. But the fact that you found something that fitted a way of being musicalised and was hilarious and was a hook.
Yeah, no.
So actually, forgive me, you're a craftsman. I know this conversation has been very light and airy, but I want to make sure that people realise that you are really quite remarkable people.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, and definitely. And we don't do things like probably like a lot of people who write musicals do, but we have a lot of skills in our craft.
But there's no one right way to write a musical.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's lots of ways of writing a bad musical, if I may say so as well, which you haven't done. But, so the route to glory is manyfold.
Yeah,
that's not from the Bible.
And someone like Craig, who's been in loads of different musicals and stuff, you pick up a load of things from acting in them.
I've been,
not just venereal diseases.
No.
Not you, obviously.
But and get us a joke like that in the show. Imogen's just started looking at me anytime she says sexually transmitted diseases. This has come out of nowhere.
Sorry,
but no. But everyone brings their own little thing to it. Where I try and throw in the odd more like new, like musical reference or things for the different crowds and that sort of thing. And I did think it was important that because our title is so unwieldy, there's some that just sound right or just sound like they trip off the tongue, and just that little bit of catchiness or something.
The hook, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like an anchor, really. So there are plans, or at least you would like to continue this. You'd like to write more if you could, as a group. Are you talking the same genre, or would you also like to? I think, if you don't mind me saying, you've struck gold here, and this is something you should always be thinking of doing. But presumably, you also, as professionals, would like to extend your repertoire. Yes. Yeah.
Well, obviously, everyone in the company goes out and does other work other than with the company. So everyone's doing all kinds of stuff. But I think I'm tempted to not do a third one exactly the same.
Go straight to the fourth.
Yeah, exactly.
Complicated.
Third one's always the worst.
Only because
it'd be like a threequel.
It's just I don't know.
I
haven't got the right answer. I don't think right now.
But you're still in the middle of Apocalypse as well, aren't you?
Exactly.
Maybe Apocalypse is over.
We haven't thought up the third one yet.
Yeah.
Well, if I may say, the two have been so good. One doesn't want to get stuck in a furrow. On the other hand, I think there's plenty of meat on the bone, and you're
that's
such
the
a creative
dilemma.
group. But as you say, if you've got a little repertory group and you're all happy working with each other, you can do other things and then come back to the the mothership, as it were, and back out again.
Exactly. But it was a hell of a lot of hard work putting Apocalypse together. Just because there was a lot of stress to make sure that we had a plot and that we had the show cast and stuff like that.
Might you not have had the success if you hadn't done the work? I suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a rotter, isn't it? You have to put the work in, the spade work. What for the individuals? Tell me about yourselves. Hopefully it will come to London, and that will be fantastic. But and I think you're now London-based. Do you have other things on the horizon that you'd like to, that you're wanting to do, or you have got in the bag? Ambitions?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are just planning to write more and keep. I think this has kind of encouraged us after, because it was our first year in London moving down, and a lot of us trying to find work or do something creative, and we had Vampire in this, which was really great. So I think it's encouraged all of us to just try and write more things, and we were talking about just recording some more small things and getting them online, which is an easier way to just get them out than people having to come to a theatre, even if it's silly songs or bits of sketches or something.
Keeps the profile up, doesn't it?
Yeah. And we've got our improv show that we've been we're doing a more musical improv show that hopefully we can keep doing in
London.
Yeah.
Oh, fab.
So we previously were doing it sort of once a month. It's called the Wimps Show.
Talking my language.
Yeah. And we've been slowly making that more and more musical, lengthening out our improvise a whole musical game from sort of 3 minutes to 5 to 15 at one point.
And that's on Fridays at the Arts Theatre as well. About once a month we do it.
So hopefully we can expand on that, and again just build up our.
And as you say, the internet is it would be really good to. I mean, I've been looking at all kinds of different stuff because I like to play with other mediums, like making animation or something like that. It'd be great fun. And also to do more work myself as a performer, because that's how it all started, doing improv with these guys. But when we want to do these big musicals like this, there's just no room for me to get on the stage as well as write this and sing the theme.
The room is in fact the room you're in writing the script.
Exactly. So I'm kind of looking down those alleys as well. But it's
Damn, the curse of versatility, you see. Isn't it? So let us talk nuts and bolts then. You're up here in Edinburgh for the Fringe. How can people see you at the Fringe? And give us some email contact, some online contact details as well. Where are you at the Fringe, first of all? Let's do the easy stuff.
So we're at Gilded Balloon, and we're on at 1:30 every day for the rest of the Fringe. You can find us on Facebook on facebook.com/Beachcomet, which is the name of our company. You can also find us on Twitter at Beachcomet. And we're constantly posting updates on there.
So those are the best places to go.
And our album is on of Apocalypse, and also about Vampire, probably, or on Bandcamp.
And you can find details there on the Facebook, or you can search in Apocalypse Cruise Ship Love Affair Bandcamp if you can be bothered to type that all out.
We've had to plenty of times. It's a long one. Yeah.
In fact, if you type that in, you win a Pulitzer Prize.
Yeah.
Just for length, if nothing else. Well, gentlemen, I cannot tell you what a pleasure it's been talking to you, and thank you so much for your insights. But more, really, I have to say thank you for bringing a sustained number of brilliant shows and brilliant performances to Edinburgh. You've genuinely made my Edinburgh this summer a much happier environment. I mean, it's great anyway. I love Edinburgh, but you've really been, if I may say, you are very much the glacé cherry on the top of the Bakewell tart of options up here in Edinburgh. So I wish you great success, and I look forward to seeing you in London, because I'll certainly come and grab you at the Arts. That sounds dirtier than but you get the idea. And I'd look forward to seeing and hearing a great deal more from you in all the directions you wish to pursue.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
You.
respectable level of professionalism. Vampire hospital waiting room, we'll treat your vampire bride and groom. We'll get that baby out of your womb, we'll clean up afterwards with a broom.
Shoo up the water, shoo up the water, 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 water, shoo up,
Somebody water, shoot up, somebody water, shoot up, somebody water. Vampire hospital waiting room with a Jason graveyard where the flowers bloom. So if you need an organ, we can just exhume a corpse and let the world consume whatever's left afterwards. Vampire hospital waiting room. Something else that rhymes with room. Some of us are going to change costume. Let the music
bloom.
Musical talk. And there you have it, the theme tune to Vampire Hospital Waiting Room, a comedy B musical by Theo McCabe and Craig Methven, who you heard in that conversation. And remember, that was recorded in 2016. And if you want to hear the score to either of those shows, you can. You can go along to the relevant website, which is beachcomet.bandcamp.com. And if you want to find out more about both shows, you can go to beachcomet.com. And Vampire Hospital Waiting Room has its own website as well, www.vampirehospitalwaitingroom.com. And that show, Vampire Hospital Waiting Room, was in Edinburgh in 2013, 15 and 19, and also all around the country. And if our luck holds, we'll see it again at future Edinburgh Festival Fringes. It's a genuine hit. And to confirm that, it's absolutely a 5-star show as far as musical talk is confirmed. It's a true cult classic, the best there is. And as for Apocalypse, well, I thought it hilarious, a must-see. Another 5-star show. It's not often you get an episode of musical talk with 10 stars falling out of it. Well, that more or less wraps up this episode, and I do hope you enjoyed listening to that first interview about these two fantastic shows and where they were 4 years ago in 2016. Join me again next week and you'll hear more from Theo, recorded at the Edinburgh Festival Fringe in 2019, and the magnificent lead actor of both those musicals, Joe McCardle. And we'll catch up on how those shows have developed since 2016 and where they're going. It's a wonderful conversation and I do hope you'll join us. But until then, there's only one word I can say which sums up the best way of closing an episode and bidding you all farewell. And you know, it's not coelacanth. It is, as you might have expected, goodbye. No surprises there. Goodbye. This episode of Musical Talk, edited and presented by Thos. Copyright Musical Talk 2020, except for the songs where the copyright remains with the creators. And my thanks go to Theo McCabe for allowing me to play his songs in this episode. To find out more about the world of musical talk and listen to past episodes, go along to our website www.musicaltalk.co.uk or subscribe to us on iTunes and follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at Musical Talk Thos. I'm now recording. And before you arrived, I said that I do this as live, but I do edit. So if we're chatting away and you suddenly realise you've libelled your family and your cast, and you've inadvertently revealed a personal secret about yourself which has hitherto remained unexpressed, then just say, can we roll back, and I'll take that bit out for later blackmail purposes. Is that all
Cool,
right?
yes, that's good.
What I'd like to do as well, I'm going to ask you both to come in a little bit, that's okay, just because it's quite a broad table, this, isn't it, actually? Give me a couple of levels each, one by one, and then once we've got the levels right, we'll start, if that's okay. It's just a conversation. It will take it can take anything from 15, 20 minutes to 40 minutes, whatever it is. So
how interesting we are.
Yeah.
Or how dull I am. Don't it takes three to tango, very badly.